Ever get that feeling like there's more to life than what we see every day?
Oh, definitely.
Well, get ready because we're diving into a text that explores exactly that.
Yeah.
We're taking a look at 8 and Out There 2024 Murli.txt, and let me tell you, it gets pretty deep.
Deep is an understatement.
Oh, is it?
It's a fascinating look at a spiritual path. It's called Raja Yoga,
Okay.
and it's all laid out in this Murli, which is like, a spiritual discourse.
Okay, so a spiritual discourse, but we're also talking about becoming kings of kings.
Yeah.
I'm picturing some serious bling here.
Well, hold on to your crown, because this isn't about, typical worldly kingdoms.
Yeah.
This Murli describes a path to reclaiming your original spiritual purity
Okay.
and achieving true liberation.
Okay.
It's about becoming a ruler of your inner world,
Oh, okay.
your true self.
I'm intrigued. So where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, this Murli introduces a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
The idea that we've all experienced a fall from grace. It suggests that originally, everyone existed in a state of complete purity and belonged to a single deity religion in a golden age.
A golden age. So like a utopia where everyone was basically enlightened.
Exactly. But as time went on, things started to, get a little messy.
Okay.
The Murli describes how humanity gradually descended into impurity, moving further and further away from that original state of bliss.
Okay, so we've gone from golden to tarnished. How does Raja Yoga fit into all of this?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The Murli explains that the Father,
Okay.
a term used to describe the Supreme Soul, teaches Raja Yoga
Okay.
as a way to help souls climb back up that ladder of purity.
So it's like a spiritual boot camp to get us back to our prime.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Well, be prepared for a challenge.
Okay.
The Murli describes this study as a boxing match with Maya.
Wait, a boxing match with Maya. I'm picturing a Rocky montage, but with less sweat and more soul-searching.
Maya is often translated as, illusion or delusion.
Right.
Think of it as the force that keeps us attached to the material world and makes us forget our true nature as souls.
Okay.
It's all those distractions and desires that keep us stuck in that tarnished state.
So it's like we're constantly fighting against our own bad habits and those shiny distractions that keep popping up.
You got it. This Murli emphasizes the importance of becoming soul conscious,
Okay.
of remembering that we are not just these physical bodies, but eternal souls on a journey back to our original purity.
Which makes total sense if you believe in reincarnation, right? If your soul is going to keep cycling through different lives, it's probably a good idea to remember who you really are.
Absolutely. That's a key part of Raja Yoga, becoming aware of yourself as a soul.
Yeah.
And realizing that true happiness comes from that inner connection, not from external things.
Okay, so we've got this father who's like the ultimate spiritual coach.
Right.
And we're all in training to become kings and queens of our inner selves.
Exactly.
But how do we actually learn this Raja Yoga? Is there like a secret handshake or something?
This is where the figure of Brahma comes in.
Okay.
Now hold on tight, because we're about to get into some pretty, unique territory here.
Okay.
The Murli explains that the Father enters Brahma.
Wait, enters Brahma, like possesses him.
Not exactly.
Okay.
Think of it more like channeling. Brahma acts as a kind of intermediary, a bridge between the Supreme Soul and the rest of us.
So it's not like the father is just walking around giving lectures in a physical form.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
The Murli describes Brahma as being in his final birth
Uh-huh.
and already on the path to achieving complete purity.
So he's like the star student,
Yes,
showing everyone else how it's done.
exactly. Brahma serves as a living example
Right.
of how someone can go from a state of impurity to that pure golden state through the study and practice of Raja Yoga.
So if Brahma is the star student, how does he teach everyone else?
The Murli suggests that there's this whole lineage of knowledge where the Father teaches souls,
Uh-huh.
who then go on to teach others.
Right.
It's like a chain reaction of spiritual awakening.
Okay, now this is really starting to feel like we're stepping into a secret society.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of world domination, the goal is like ultimate self-realization.
Well, maybe there's a little bit of both. Remember, the Murli does talk about becoming kings of kings. So maybe it's about ruling both your inner and outer world.
Okay, fair point. But seriously, if we're talking about cycles of time and souls being reborn over and over,
Yeah.
does that mean this father has been doing this teaching thing for like a really long time?
The Murli seems to suggest that this cycle has been going on eternally.
Wow.
The Father comes, teaches, and then disappears,
Okay.
only to return again after a long period of time.
And each time, it's about helping souls remember their true nature.
Yes.
And break free from the cycle of reincarnation.
Yes, and here's the kicker.
What's that?
The Murli emphasizes the idea that this knowledge is new for each cycle, even though it's eternally recurring.
So it's like we all get a fresh start, even if our souls have been through this before. Yes.
That's kind of reassuring, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a very specific view of time and existence. Imagine history repeating itself,
Yeah.
but with the potential for individuals to change their destinies through this study.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Ugh.
Hold on, I have so many more questions.
Sure.
If this knowledge is so powerful,
Yeah.
why do some people fail in this study?
That's where the boxing match with Maya really comes into play.
Right.
The Murli suggests that the challenges and distractions of the material world
Yeah.
are just too strong for some people. They get, knocked out, so to speak.
So it's not enough to just hear about this Raja Yoga. You have to actively resist those temptations and cultivate that soul consciousness.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another fascinating concept
Okay.
that the Murli touches on. Surrender.
Surrender. To whom? Are we talking white flags and peace treaties here?
It's about surrendering to the Father, to that higher power,
Okay.
not in a defeated way.
But in a way that allows you to let go of ego and attachment and truly embrace this path.
So it's not just about understanding the concepts intellectually, it's about a deep emotional commitment, like taking a leap of faith.
Exactly. The Murli makes it clear that this is a challenging path, but it's also a path that leads to incredible rewards.
Okay.
We're talking about breaking free from that cycle of reincarnation and returning to a state of pure bliss.
Wow. That's a pretty compelling incentive. But even if someone isn't ready to go all in on this whole Raja Yoga path,
Sure.
are there still some valuable takeaways from this Murli?
Absolutely.
Like what?
The idea of cycles of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, it's something humanity has pondered for ages.
Right.
What's interesting here is the call to action.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of the cycle and choosing where you stand within it.
So even if you don't buy into every detail, there's still a message about taking responsibility for your own spiritual journey.
Precisely.
I love that.
And about the power of knowledge and self-awareness to shape your destiny.
Okay, before we go any further, I have to ask.
Yeah.
This Murli is obviously very specific in its language and concepts. Is this something that's widely known or practiced?
That's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, how so?
The Murli itself claims that this knowledge is incredibly rare
Okay.
and only revealed at certain points in time, but it also talks about spreading this teaching to others.
So there's this tension between exclusivity and a desire to share this knowledge with the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a paradox,
It is, yeah.
but perhaps that's part of what makes it so compelling.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone wanted to learn more about this, where would they even begin?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The Murli doesn't provide any specific instructions or resources. It's more about sparking curiosity
Yeah.
and encouraging individuals to seek out this knowledge for themselves.
So it's a bit like a treasure map without the X marks the spot.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of the challenge, right?
Perhaps.
Okay. Before we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive,
Okay.
the Murli talks about becoming pure and returning to a golden age. If you could choose to be reborn into that kind of world, what qualities would you need to cultivate now to make that a reality?
That's a fantastic question,
Yeah.
and one that I think everyone should reflect on.
I know I will, but for now we'll have to leave you hanging. Don't worry, we'll be back soon to explore more of this fascinating Murli and its implications for your life. Stay tuned.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? This idea that we can actually prepare ourselves for a golden age, a world of purity and bliss. It makes you wonder, what kind of world we're creating right now with our choices.
It really does, and this whole idea of a golden age, it's not just unique to this Murli, is it?
You're absolutely right. The concept of a golden age, a time of peace and prosperity, appears in various cultures and mythologies.
Yeah.
What's interesting here is that the Murli offers a practical path to not just dream of a golden age, but to actively contribute to its creation.
Okay, so we're not just sitting around waiting for a utopia to magically appear.
Right.
We have a role to play.
Exactly. And that role starts with understanding the cyclical nature of time.
Okay.
This idea that history repeats itself. The Murliists suggest that we're all part of this grand cosmic play, with souls moving through different roles and states of purity over vast periods of time.
So it's like we're all actors on a stage playing different parts in different acts of this cosmic drama.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in a play, the quality of the performance depends on the actor's awareness and skill.
Right.
In this case, the skill we need to develop is soul consciousness.
So the more aware we are of ourselves as souls, the better our performance in this cosmic play and the closer we get to that golden age.
That's the idea that Murli puts forward. And it's not just about personal liberation. Remember, we're all connected, part of this larger web of souls.
Right.
So as we individually raise our consciousness, we contribute to a collective shift towards purity, towards that golden age.
Okay, so it's like a ripple effect. Our individual efforts to become more soul conscious actually have the power to influence the world around us.
Precisely. And this brings us back to the importance of Raja Yoga.
Okay.
It's not just a set of teachings or practices.
Right.
It's a way of life, a constant process of remembering who we truly are and aligning our thoughts, words, and actions with that inner purity.
So it's not just about meditating for an hour a day.
Right.
It's about bringing that soul consciousness into everything we do.
Yes, whether you're at work, interacting with your family, or even just scrolling through social media, the principles of Raja Yoga can guide you towards making choices that elevate your consciousness and contribute to a more harmonious world.
This is starting to make a lot of sense. But let's go back to this idea of the golden age for a moment.
Sure.
The Murli mentions the 4 stages of purity: Sattva Pradhan, Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo. Can you break those down for us in a way that's, well, less textbooky?
Okay, imagine it like this. Picture a scale, like a thermometer, that measures purity. Sattva Pradhan is the top of the scale, the highest level of purity. That's that golden age state we've been talking about where everything is in perfect balance and harmony.
Okay, so Sattva Pradhan is like pure gold, the top shelf stuff.
Right.
What about the other stages?
Think of it as the gold becoming less and less pure as we move down the scale. Sattva is still pretty good, like high-quality silver.
Okay.
It's a state of peace and virtue,
Right.
but not quite as radiant as the golden age.
So we've gone from gold to silver.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Rajo is where things start to get a bit murky.
Okay.
Imagine bronze. Still valuable, but with more of a, tarnished look.
Okay.
This is where passion and activity come into play, but also where ego and desires start to take over.
Okay, so now we're dealing with a bit of tarnish.
Right.
Where does that leave Temo?
Temo is the bottom of the scale, like iron that's completely rusted over.
Okay.
This is a state of darkness, ignorance, and inertia. It's where negative emotions and harmful actions thrive.
Wow, that's a pretty stark contrast to the golden age.
It is.
So this Raja Yoga is all about helping us climb back up that scale, from rusty iron all the way to pure gold.
Exactly. It's about purifying our thoughts, actions, and intentions, step by step, level by level, until we reach that state of Sattva Pradhan.
Right.
Both individually and collectively.
Now here's a question that's been swirling in my mind.
Okay.
If we all start at the highest level, in that golden age state of Sattva Pradhan, what causes us to descend into those lower levels in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where the boxing match with Maya becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
Remember, Maya is that force of illusion, those desires and attachments that lure us away from our true nature. The Murli suggests that over time, we start to identify more with our physical bodies in the material world than with our souls.
So we get seduced by the shiny distractions and forget who we really are.
Right.
It's like we get so caught up in the game that we forget we're actually the players.
Exactly. And as we become more entangled in the material world, our thoughts, words, and actions become less pure. And we gradually descend those levels of purity.
So it's like a downward spiral. We forget our true nature, get caught up in desires and attachments, and that takes us further and further away from that golden age state.
That's the cycle the Murli describes.
Right.
But here's the good news. We have the power to reverse that cycle.
Wait, really? How?
Through Raja Yoga, through soul consciousness, through remembering who we truly are and making choices that reflect that inner purity.
Okay.
It's not about becoming perfect overnight.
Right.
It's about taking small steps day by day to move back towards that golden age state.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. And it's a journey that's available to everyone.
Okay.
The Murli emphasizes that regardless of our past actions or current state of purity, we all have the potential to achieve that golden age consciousness.
That's incredibly hopeful. Okay, so we've talked about this father, who is the supreme soul, and Brahma, who acts as a kind of intermediary.
Yeah.
But where do we fit into all of this?
Yeah.
How do we connect with this father and learn this Raja Yoga?
That's where the concept of surrender comes in.
Okay.
The Murli talks about becoming a child of the Father, surrendering our ego and our attachment to the material world, and placing our trust in that higher power.
So it's about letting go of control and having faith that we're being guided on the right path.
It's more about recognizing that we're not alone on this journey,
Okay.
that there's a loving force, this Father, who is always there to support and guide us.
Okay, I can definitely see the appeal of that.
Mm-hmm.
But surrendering your ego, letting go of control, that sounds pretty challenging.
It is, but the Murli suggests that it's in that surrender,
Okay.
in that letting go, that we truly find our inner strength and freedom.
So it's like that paradox, we gain true control by relinquishing control.
Precisely. It's about shifting our perspective from seeing ourselves as separate individuals struggling to make our way in the world to understanding that we are all connected, part of this divine family,
Okay.
guided and loved by this Father.
This is giving me a whole new way of looking at things. But let's be honest, all this talk of surrendering and becoming a child of the Father might sound a bit, well, out there to some people.
It definitely challenges conventional ways of thinking.
It does.
But here's the thing. You don't have to believe every single detail
Right.
to find value in these concepts. The core message of the Murlis is about self-awareness,
Okay.
about recognizing our true nature as souls and making choices that align with that inner purity.
So even if someone isn't ready to embrace the whole father concept, they can still benefit from the ideas of soul consciousness and striving for a more harmonious world.
Absolutely. The Murli offers a rich tapestry of ideas, and each individual can take from it what resonates with them on their own spiritual journey.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have to admit, my mind is still wrestling with this whole concept of cycles of time.
If history keeps repeating itself, are we really making any progress?
That's a profound question, and the Murli offers a unique perspective on this.
Right.
It suggests that while the cycle itself might be eternal,
Right.
our individual journeys within that cycle are not predetermined.
Okay.
We have the power to choose our path, to learn from our experiences, and to evolve over time.
So even though history might rhyme, it doesn't have to repeat itself exactly.
Right.
We can break free from those old patterns.
Precisely, and that's where the real hope lies.
Okay.
It's not about waiting for a golden age to magically arrive.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to create that golden age,
Yeah.
both within ourselves and in the world around us, one conscious choice at a time.
Okay, I'm starting to get a clearer picture of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's still this lingering question. If the Murli doesn't provide specific instructions on how to connect with this Father or practice Raja Yoga, how are we supposed to actually do it? That's the beauty of it. The Murli doesn't give you a step-by-step manual.
Okay.
Because it's not about following someone else's rules.
Yeah.
It's about embarking on a journey of self-discovery.
Okay.
About tuning into your own inner wisdom and finding your own unique path to that golden age consciousness.
So it's about trusting your intuition, experimenting, and seeing what works for you.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I have to ask you something. We've talked a lot about the challenges of this path.
Yeah.
The boxing match with Maya and the need to surrender our ego.
Right.
But what about the rewards?
Yeah.
What does it actually feel like to experience that soul consciousness, to tap into that golden age energy?
Now that's something you have to experience for yourself. Words can only point you in the right direction.
Right.
But imagine a state of deep inner peace, a sense of connection to something far greater than yourself,
Okay.
a feeling of lightness and joy that radiates from within.
That sounds pretty amazing. But is it really possible to achieve that kind of state in the midst of all the chaos and challenges of everyday life?
That's the ultimate test, isn't it? And that's what the Murli encourages us to do,
Okay.
to bring that soul consciousness into every moment,
Yeah.
every interaction, every experience.
Right.
It's about finding that stillness within, even amidst the storm.
So it's not about escaping the world, it's about transforming our experience of the world.
Exactly. It's about seeing the world through the eyes of the soul, recognizing the divinity in ourselves and in everyone around us,
Yeah.
and acting from a place of love, compassion, and wisdom.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a glimpse of what that might feel like.
Good.
It's like shifting your whole perspective, seeing the world as a classroom for the soul rather than a battlefield for the ego.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it. And that shift in perspective is at the heart of Raja Yoga.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that every experience, every challenge, every interaction is an opportunity for growth, for purification, for moving closer to that golden age state.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff, but before we get too carried away, let's take a quick pause.
Okay.
We'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some practical ways to apply these concepts to our own lives, and maybe even get a sneak peek at what life in that golden age might actually look and feel like. Stay tuned.
Okay, I'm ready to step back into this golden age mindset. It's a pretty radical concept, this idea that we can actually choose to create a better world, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
It is a powerful idea, and what's so fascinating is that this Murli, while presenting a very specific spiritual path, also seems to be tapping into a universal human longing, for peace and harmony and a sense of belonging.
You're right that longing resonates across cultures and throughout history, but let's be realistic. Is a true golden age even possible? I mean, just look at the state of the world right now. Yeah, I hear you. It's easy to get discouraged when you look at all the conflict and suffering in the world. But remember what we talked about earlier, the cyclical nature of time. This Murli suggests that we've experienced golden ages before, and we have the potential to create them again.
Okay, but how? It just seems like such a monumental task. Where do we even begin?
Well, this Murli doesn't offer like a 10-step program or a political manifesto. It's more about an inner transformation, a shift in consciousness that then ripples outward.
So it's about changing ourselves first, becoming the change we want to see in the world.
Exactly. Remember those 4 stages of purity we discussed?
Yeah.
This Murli suggests that as individuals move up those stages, as they become more soul-conscious and purify their thoughts, words, and actions, they contribute to a collective shift towards that golden age state.
Okay, so it's like a domino effect.
Right.
Each person who embraces this path helps to create a more harmonious environment for everyone else.
That's the idea. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, part of this larger web of energy and consciousness.
Right.
Our individual choices and actions don't exist in a vacuum. They have a ripple effect that impacts the world around us.
So even small acts of kindness, compassion, and generosity can contribute to creating a golden age.
Absolutely. The Murli emphasizes that it's not about grand gestures or heroic feats. It's about infusing every moment of your life with that golden age consciousness. It's about bringing that awareness of your true self, your soul, into every interaction, every decision, every thought.
That makes it feel a lot more manageable, actually. It's not about waiting for some external event or revolution to create a golden age. It's about starting right here, right now, with our own thoughts and actions.
Exactly. And here's something to consider. What if the qualities we cultivate in ourselves are actually reflections of the golden age we're trying to create?
What do you mean?
Think about it. If a golden age is characterized by peace, harmony, and love, then embodying those qualities within ourselves becomes an act of creation.
Right.
We become living embodiments of the world we want to see.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connections. Like, we're not just preparing ourselves for a golden age, we're actually creating it.
Yeah.
With every thought, word, and action.
That's a powerful way to look at it, and it makes you wonder, what kind of golden age are we capable of creating? What are the limits of our imagination and our collective will to transform ourselves and the world around us?
That's a pretty mind-blowing question. And honestly, it's a little daunting, too. I mean, how do we even know what a golden age would look like? What would people be like? How would they interact with each other and the world around them?
Well, this Murli doesn't offer like a blueprint for a utopian society. It doesn't tell you what to wear, what to eat, or what kind of government to establish.
So it's not a set of rules or a political ideology. It's more about an inner compass.
Exactly. The Murli points you towards a set of principles like soul consciousness, purity, and surrender.
Right.
And encourages you to use those principles to navigate your own path and create a world that reflects those values.
Okay, I like that. It's about empowerment, not dogma. But it still leaves a lot open to interpretation. For example, what does purity actually look like in a golden age context?
Well, in this Murli, purity isn't just about, being morally good or following a strict set of rules.
Okay.
It's about aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your true nature, with the essence of your soul.
So it's about living authentically in a way that's true to your deepest self.
Yes. And imagine a world where everyone is striving for that kind of authenticity, where people are guided by kindness, compassion, and a genuine desire to contribute to the well-being of others.
That sounds pretty idyllic, but I have to ask, is it realistic? I mean, people are complex. We have flaws, we make mistakes, we get caught up in our own dramas. How can we possibly achieve that level of purity on a global scale?
Remember that boxing match with Maya we talked about?
Yeah.
That struggle is an inherent part of the journey.
Right.
This Murli doesn't suggest that we'll ever be completely free from challenges or temptations. It's about recognizing those patterns, those moments when we get pulled off course, and making conscious choices to realign ourselves with our true nature.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And remember, we're all in this together. We're all supporting each other, consciously or unconsciously, as we navigate this path. This Murli suggests that as more and more individuals embrace this path of soul consciousness, the collective energy shifts, and it becomes easier for everyone to move towards that golden age state.
Okay, that's a really encouraging thought. So it's not about waiting for everyone to get on board before we see any change. Every individual effort, every act of kindness, every moment of soul consciousness contributes to that collective shift.
Precisely. And here's the truly mind-boggling part. Imagine the exponential power of that collective transformation. As more and more individuals awaken to their true nature, the ripple effect becomes more and more powerful. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering momentum as it goes.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the potential of this whole golden age concept. It's not just a utopian dream, it's a possibility that we can actively create, step by step, choice by choice, together.
And that's what makes this Murli so compelling. It offers a vision of hope, a reminder that we are not just passive bystanders in the face of history's cycles. We are co-creators of our own reality. And we have the power to choose a path that leads us towards a world of peace, harmony, and true fulfillment.
I love that. It's a call to action, an invitation to step into our power as souls and become the architects of a golden age. And honestly, after diving deep into this Murli, I feel a renewed sense of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, we can create a world that reflects the best of who we are.
And that's the beauty of exploring these kinds of ideas, isn't it? They challenge our assumptions, expand our perspectives, and ignite that spark of possibility within us.
Absolutely. So for all of you listening, we encourage you to take these ideas, explore them, and see where they lead you on your own journey. Who knows? Maybe we'll all meet in that golden age one day. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep believing in the power of transformation, both within yourselves and in the world around you.